Guys, we're back at it yet again with another Arbitrum ecosystem updates. As usual, nothing in this video is financial advice, and everything that I say is my opinion and my opinion alone. Let's jump right into it. We got a ton of stuff to talk about today. First, we have LooksRare. LooksRare says gas fees and block times are getting in the way of fun, so we're taking our on-chain games to Arbitrum. Starting now, you can play Poke the Bear at lightning fast speeds with ridiculously cheap gas fees. And then they link to a little docs page over here on how to play Poke the Bear. I've never played this game personally, and also LooksRare, for most of you who don't know already, is actually an NFT marketplace. I think it seems like they're making some sort of transition over to the gaming sector of crypto, though. So it's great to see that they're starting, their gaming journey with Arbitrum in this case. I definitely got to try this out at some other point, but definitely a great announcement to see. It's funny. I think this past bear has made a lot of teams kind of not necessarily pivot, but kind of start to hone in their focus on whether it's what they were currently doing or kind of shifted a little bit to maybe what they think is kind of on the horizon. And it makes sense that these guys are going the gaming route because gaming is, and you'll see, I'm going to probably half these announcements are gaming related. You'll see, like, gaming in 2024, I think is going to be insane. As it pertains to, of course, blockchain-based gaming and Web3 gaming. So shout outs to LooksRare for deploying their Poke the Bear game on Arbitrum. Next up, we have a tweet by Zite who says, slowly then all at once. Welcome to Zite. And they tag Orivium, oh my God, Orivium, which is a multiplayer RTS game. Essentially, this game looks like they're moving over to the Zite L3 blockchain on Arbitrum. Zite, if you don't know, is an Arbitrum orbit chain, essentially a chain that lives on top of Arbitrum 1, and that is pretty specifically focused on gaming, and is trying to, not even trying, they're doing a great job actually at growing their gaming ecosystem. This is just kind of like a thread talking about Orivium. But it's great to see that, different orbit chains now are starting to kind of cultivate their own ecosystems. I said it before, and I'll keep on saying it, that one of the biggest differentiators for L2s, or one of the biggest differentiators for different chains, whether it's app specific or whether it's vertical specific, is that they can focus all their efforts on one thing, including not only development but also marketing. Like if nothing else, I think it took me a while to come around to this. It's we don't need multiple different chains for throughput because we're just not there yet as an industry. But throughput doesn't matter right now. It's more so about the audience that you hit. That to me is the biggest differentiator. Arbitrum, Arbitrum 1 as a chain, as a generalized chain, will never hit the same audiences, in my opinion, as Zite might or as a Frame might. Frame in this case is a L2 focused on NFTs and content creation, right? Both of these guys had different audiences, and that's why there are announcements happening on both ends, because at the end of the day, these chains probably would have never thought about coming to Arbitrum for one reason or another. But in this case, Zite and Frame do a great job at knowing who their audience is and hitting it. Pretty much hitting the nail on the head every time. So shout outs to Zite for continually to kind of drive more and more games onto the blockchain. We have Tenderly coming out and saying, by introducing Web 2 languages to Web 3, Arbitrum Stylus will enable lower gas fees, efficiency boosts, and more. You'll be able to use Tenderly's full stack infrastructure with familiar languages to build on Arbitrum 1 and Nova. So essentially, Tenderly here is a great provider for not necessarily learning how to develop. I guess you technically could, but more so kind of like this all-in-one kind of development platform. In this case, historically you could use it to deploy applications in Solidity on Arbitrum, but now that they support Stylus, they'll actually start to support deployments in Rust, C, and I think probably just Rust, but it's possible C and C++ might be included in there as well. I don't think it's possible right now, just because One and Nova don't have the Stylus upgrade there yet. But if the upgrade goes to the DAO and the DAO approves for Stylus to be updated on these two chains, then you'll be able to use Tenderly to do that, is what it sounds like. So great to see Tenderly making that announcement. And they're probably one of the very early ones in announcing stuff like this. You're going to see a lot more infrastructure providers, I think, start to provide more and more support for Stylus-based blockchains, as well as the main nets if Stylus ends up deploying on there too. And we have Hopia coming out and saying, Hopia chain L2 is migrating. We'll be migrating the Hopia chain, or HiChain, to utilize Arbitrum's AnyTrust technology for our own L2 focused on gaming as HiChains. And they pretty much go on to say how they essentially are leaving The Polygon Edge based layer 2 solution that they used to have. My understanding is that Polygon does not support that anymore, and they are making their way over onto Arbitrum as a layer 2. Great to see. And for what it's worth, this is kind of the same game that I think at some point had some sort of ties between Microsoft and maybe even Minecraft. These guys were really, really big during the NFT craze last year. So it's great to see that they're, obviously continuing to build and looking to migrate their tech stack over to Arbitrum to, of course, get ready probably for this next bull run, which is great to see, right? But yeah, shout outs to Hopia for that announcement. We have Parallel Network. I think, which one is it? I think it's this one. Yeah. Parallel says, we're excited to work with Conduit to power Parallel Network's rollups with Arbitrum's Orbit stack under the hood. Together, we're building the first omni-chain L2 that unifies liquidity from any chain into one place. One account, instant liquidity across any chain. This is a really interesting one. So it's worth noting that in this case, under the hood, they'll be essentially operating with an Arbitrum Orbit chain, but it'll be such that you'll be able to essentially kind of like interact with liquidity on different chains from this chain. I'm a little confused with how this works, to be honest with you, but it sounds really cool and very innovative. I think stuff like this, like applications and blockchains that are working to increase interoperability between each other, is probably going to be one of the biggest themes we see this year. And probably honestly even the years to come. Cross-chain interoperability is something that no one really has a good answer to yet, in terms of like seamless kind of like interoperability like you would on if you were just interacting with one chain. So, it looks like Parallel Network is trying to tackle that to a certain extent. And I think that'd be great, for sure. I do think there's another actual chain doing something similar to this. I think it might be Dairy Protocol, but for DeFi potentially, from what I recall. But great to see that these guys are using Conduit in this case to build the their own Arbitrum Orbit chain. Shouts to Parallel. And I want to end off today's episode here with talking about NFTs real quick. So, DC Investor says about an hour ago, so do we think a $1 million punk floor is going to happen this time around? And G Money says absolutely. So this is crazy. I don't know. So I think NFTs thus far have been the last thing to kind of become revitalized, I guess is the word, ever since this kind of Bitcoin ETF thing kind of was announced. And even the past couple months, right? I mean, NFTs have still been in kind of a downtrend for the most part. The question is, do we think NFTs will kind of come back? I think it's possible. The problem with NFTs is they're so illiquid and they're so kind of just based on, I was going to say they're based only on belief, but that's everything essentially at this point. It's tough, man. There are so many NFTs that went to zero, and also ones that were pretty big that just kind of tanked in floor price. So I don't know. I personally don't own a ton of NFTs anymore. A ton of high value NFTs, I should say. I recently got a DGOD the other day. I haven't actually posted that publicly, but I did acquire a DGOD just because they were kind of really, really low, and I felt like everyone was hating on them. So I figured, hey, why not acquire one while they're low? I don't know. Maybe I just lose all my money. But I think for the most part, we definitely see some sort of comeback for NFTs. 1 million punk floor. I'll be honest, if the punk floor is $1 million, that means ETH is an insane price. ETH has to be an insane price at that point. And I won't be mad. I won't be mad at not owning a punk at that point. Punks are pretty expensive right now. So I think they're about $150K almost. I could be wrong. But nonetheless, let's see. And the other interesting thing I think could be if we see some sort of revitalization in L2 NFTs as well. Dude, I got a ton of small brains that I think they need a little pick me up. You know what I'm saying? I got a bunch of small brains and a bunch of other different L2 based NFTs kind of chilling in my wallet. So those are the only NFTs I still really have today. But we'll see. I don't know. I'd love for NFTs to come back. That's for sure. But well, yeah, who knows? Anyways, we'll end off today's video as usual. Take a look at Beneath the Layers if you guys haven't already. It's a community-focused show dedicated to showcasing entrepreneurs in Web3. Your boy is the host of it, and I am constantly talking to people, industry leaders in the space, about their journeys in crypto, what they're building, and kind of how they view everything. So definitely take a look if you got the time. If you're interested in podcasts and whatnot, it's on YouTube, Twitter, Apple, all that stuff, Spotify. All right, I'm done pitching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.